education administrators, and community stakeholders, families, because we really want the best for us, and we want to make sure that we optimize the educational outcomes for not only our kids, but all our kids in the city of Pontiac. If you see that quote from our leader, Dominique Had, he states that we are working diligently with all parties to positively. So Great Lakes Academy, do I have Great Lakes Academy? Mute. And then on deck is Pontiac Academy of Excellence. Okay, next on the roll is Pontiac School District.
Good evening. Stacey Jackson, Pontiac School District.
Thank you, Stacy. And next is Oakside Charter Academy, and on deck is Walton Charter Academy.
Hi, everyone. This is Mona Boersma from Walton Charter Academy.
Our next administrator is Success Virtual Learning Center. Okay. And if I have any other administrators and I did not say your school's name, please charge it to my head, but not my heart. We're going to move on to our evening. We're going to wait like 5 seconds. Okay, I think that's everyone. So thank you, school leaders, to just let you know how much we appreciate you and all that you've been doing in the city of Pontiac for our students and our families. We know that you have been working hard and tirelessly, and we're grateful that you're here with us this evening. Families, we have a wonderful evening planned for you. You should be excited. Here's what we will cover today. Let's take a moment to look at our agenda. We'll be learning about some at-home tips. We'll learn about school assessments and what those test scores mean, and some home and school connections. As you can see, this event is going to be recorded. So I'm going to ask the school leaders to share this recording, not only on your website, to share them in some more newsletters, Facebook pages. We really want to get this information tonight because it is going to be so valuable. These are our speakers for the evening: Judith Cox, Shanita D. Rogers, and Stephen Sneed. Our first speaker for tonight is Judith Cox. Judith Cox is the CEO of the Mindfulness Institute of Michigan. She is health champion of the Pontiac Chamber. She is on the board of the Pontiac United Education Coalition. She is a mother of 3. She was born and she lives in the city of Pontiac. Supporting Pontiac parents is her absolute love. Let's give me a warm welcome, virtual welcome, a clap for Judith Cox. Thank you, Grace.
Loudly. It's so good to be here with you parents. It's wonderful to be spending our time just devoted to you and your well-being, the greater well-being that you have. Parents taking care of your children, preparing them for greater learning in the classroom is what's most important to us. And you can see in the circle that what we mean by well-being is your mind is well, your body is well, and your physical being is well, and your spiritual being. And so the greater well-being that you have is going to impact your children. And so today I'm just going to focus on one of the 5 core skills of mindfulness. You see them all around the circle here. And mindfulness is really valuable for you in these times as parenting has become more and more challenging. And we understand that. And that's why we're on this call to leverage the classroom learning at home. And so we're going to focus on self-regulation. And I promise you, you're going to have something that will make the biggest difference. And you already have it. Many of you know the Wizard of Oz, and you know the root slippers in the Wizard of Oz, and you know that moment after some intense times when the good witch Glenda goes like this and says, "Why, Dorothy, you've always had the way home." And that's what you're going to have today. Like, you're going to have the experience of, oh my goodness, I can have greater mental well-being. I can have emotional well-being such that I have a sense that I'm at ease and I'm at home, and I can very call resilience, help my children well. Here's a video I'd like to share with you. It jumps right into it. But this is the secret capacity that you have already in you. It's the ruby slippers in your heart, so to speak.
Did you know that your heart has an incredible, unique intelligence unto itself, or that it has a significant influence on our perceptions, emotional experiences, and higher mental processes? And did you know that the heart can actually sense your emotional response to an event before the event has occurred? You may have instinctively felt that the heart was so much more than a blood pump, but science has actually confirmed it. Researchers discovered that the heart has its own intrinsic nervous system that sends a lot of information to the brain, affecting the way we feel, think, and perceive. In fact, the heart actually sends more signals to the brain than the brain sends to the heart. Scientists refer to this as the little brain in the heart. But don't let the diminutive name fool you. The heart-brain can act independently of the brain in your head. Its neurons have long-term and short-term memory and extensive sensory capacities. The heart and brain communicate with each other in a complex dance. As we experience emotions through the day, our heart rhythm patterns tend to reflect how we're feeling. This information is monitored by the emotional centers in the brain, where they are then perceived as feelings of fear, anger, joy, appreciation, etc. When we get bogged down with stress, worry, impatience, information overload, or indecision, the heart's rhythm has a jagged and irregular pattern. The resulting disorder or incoherence in the nervous system creates noise or static that in essence causes the neurons in the brain to get out of sync, resulting in impaired mental functioning or cortical inhibition. We can feel energy drained with more mental fog, making it difficult to focus, remember things, listen deeply, and make clear decisions. However, on the upside, when we experience feelings like love, kindness, appreciation, or compassion, it creates a smooth, coherent heart rhythm pattern. This has a calming and balancing effect and creates more harmonious cooperation between the heart, brain, and hormonal system. This not only improves how we feel, but also our ability to think clearly. We can see creative solutions to problems and more easily discern intelligent choices and decisions. This is cortical facilitation. The good news is we don't have to wait until we happen to feel good to experience this uplift. We can choose to create it ourselves. Research shows that when we practice activating positive heart qualities, care, cooperation, forgiveness, etc., it has a carryover effect that increases the overall baseline of coherence in our system. So we have more resilience during stressful experiences and can more easily maintain our poise, confidence, and self-security when challenges arise. This is the intelligence of a coherent heart.
This is the capacity that you have. This is the capacity that you have inside you, parents. And it helps you when your inner battery is just needing to be recharged. You have this heart capacity in you to recharge in any moment. And especially at the end of the day, when the children have come home and they're excited, or they're worn out, or they're hungry, and everybody may have some heightened energies, and you need to have a little more energy, and you need to have your battery charged. You can use your heart's capacity to do that. And we call that building your resilience. When we build our capacity called coherence, we get to reduce the stress that we're experiencing in the moment, which then helps us respond to the children as they come home and it's time to do homework or it's time to eat and we need to calm down and we need to then go into schoolwork. How do we do that with greater ease? We can learn to develop our capacity to be in a coherent state. And coherence is, as you can see here, an emotional state in which all of our systems are coming together, much like a team of people rowing a boat. And so we're going to learn how to do that today so that then you can model that for the children and the children can learn to develop this capacity that's in each and every one of us to get into this state of coherence, which then has greater ease, greater concentration, greater focus. It helps for behavioral change. And so we then build also the capacity for greater resilience. So what we're talking about when we say coherence, and I'll say a little more about that, is this is how you can have greater well-being in your physical body, in your emotional responses, in your social speaking, and in your mental ability, and of course in your spiritual. And so those lines, the jagged line represents when we're really frustrated or annoyed or irritated, when we're feeling impatient. We want to make ourselves move to a more coherent line, which you can see is a more smooth rhythm, so that then we can respond to the children in a way that's encouraging them, in a way that has a bit more patience, a bit more ability to like meet them where they're at, but really more importantly, to help them also self-regulate and get into a state of coherence. Oops. So what I was reflecting for you is what we call this vibration to renewal grid or this depletion to renewal grid. It's about being aware, a mindfulness quality of where am I at when I get ready to support my children in their learning? Am I frustrated, tired, overwhelmed? Am I sad? Am I bored? Am I worried? And so with this practice of getting coherent, we can find ourselves moving into these greater qualities and attitudes, if you will, of maybe greater confidence to be able to respond to them just as they need. Maybe we're a little bit more courageous to go, hey, let me calm myself. Let me provide for them from patience or from appreciation. And that's what we want you to get out of this presentation today, is how to do that. So if you'd like, we'll give it a practice. And then while you're practicing, I'm going to finish with what is coherence very clearly. It's your secret red slippers, frankly, but it's your heart. So if you'd like, right now, if you're willing, we're going to focus your attention in the area of the heart with your eyes open, because you'll do this when the children are needing it the most or when you're needing it the most. And imagine that your breath is flowing in and out of your heart. Just imagine your breath is flowing in and out of your heart or your chest area, breathing a little slower and a little deeper than usual. The neuroscientists are suggesting the fastest way to coherence is to do 5 breaths in and 5 breaths out. But really, it's whatever is comfortable for your system, imagining now that the breath is coming in and out. So if you will, if you haven't already started to try, focus your breathing on your heart. Imagine the breath is flowing in and out, breathing a little slower and a little deeper. And then what we'd like you to do is make a sincere attempt to experience a regenerative feeling. It might be care, it might be kindness, it might be gratitude. Gratitude is your easiest way. Gratitude for someone or something that you appreciate, some place even you enjoy going to. Think of it for a second, but then move into the feeling of that gratitude as you continue that heart breath. So as you continue that, continue to breathing in and out through your heart, breathing a little deeper and a little slower, feeling the gratitude. Here's what you're getting from that if you're practicing now.
Coherence is a healthy, high-performance state, physically, emotionally, and mentally, that brings out the very best in us. The broader term coherence always implies harmonious order, connectedness, stability, and efficient use of energy. It can be seen all around us. when we observe life through the lens of heart. The beauty and intricate balance of nature is a magnificent demonstration of coherence. Increased coherence happens at times within the human experience too. For example, most of us have had days where everything seemed to flow. We felt good, composed and clear. We were able to adapt quickly to whatever came our way with balance and poise. In the 1990s, Heart Math Institute researchers identified a physiological state called heart coherence, a type of coherence that occurs when our body systems such as our breathing, blood pressure, hormone response and heart rhythms are in synchronization with each other. They also discovered heart coherence not only affected physical processes, but also our mental and emotional composure too. Their research showed that heart coherence could be self-created, leading to less mental and emotional stress and more inner stability. So in summary, heart coherence is a synchronized state, physically, emotionally and mentally, that we can easily learn to bring into everyday life, allowing us to become our best selves. What is heart coherence? High
So I'll
performance
finish
state.
with, when you
Physically-
practice this breath that you just learned, these are the benefits that you have: less tired, less exhausted, less depressed, less anxious. And even for yourself physically, you have greater sleep, your body's aches and pains go away, your rapid heartbeats reduce, any muscle tension or headaches that you're feeling. So this is something that you first do for yourself, and you do it for the children. And then the children learn how to self-regulate in this way with this greater capacity for their head and their heart to be in coherence. And then their performance in the classroom is very, very different. They know how to self-regulate and they can be their very best self, but performing from this greater capacity called heart's intelligence. So I encourage you to enjoy this practice for yourself first. Use it when you want to encourage your children, when you want to respond to your children. And as you use it at home, they'll take it into the classroom and that'll support them there. Thank you for caring so much and being here.
Thank you, Judith Cox, for getting us started and getting our minds ready to engage more in the learning. And we're going to be practicing that breathing, that heart coherence. Our next speaker for today is from the Michigan Learning Channel. And her name is Shanita Rogers. Let's give a warm welcome to Shanita Rogers.
Well, thank you for that loud applause. I really appreciate it. I love how, Judith, you shared some really important information and how even your tone of your voice was very calming. So I thank you for that. Now we're going to ramp things up a little bit. So everyone get ready. Again, my name is Shanita Rogers. I'm with the Michigan Learning Channel. A lot of people know us as Detroit Public Television. So we are still a part of Detroit Public Television, but we're just a different branch of it, which is the Michigan Learning Channel. So I'd like us to take a quick look at our agenda. And I also want to thank those parents who are here and also those of you who will be watching later. So you are important to us and we appreciate you. So as it relates to our agenda, I already gave you the welcome and I hope that you will continue to feel welcome throughout the presentation. We're going to introduce and explore what the Michigan Learning Channel really is. We're going to look at those classroom connections and the relevance, because I know sometimes you're wondering, what are my students learning in school and what is this new math? So there's a lot of different things that are happening in the classroom that you would like to be aware of and also support your child. We're also going to see how we can use programming in everyday life. So nothing in addition to what you're doing, but it just flows in your regular schedule of your day. We're going to look at the Let's Read challenge and also closing and how we can partnership. Now, my hopes for you are that although we have this agenda, I simply want you to understand that students will see the same concepts that they also see at school. It's just reinforced through the programming. And you as a family will also see high quality literacy instruction modeled by teachers. Think about how to support literacy and life skills at home, and also gain resources and feel confident in helping your child grow. Now, the Michigan Learning Channel is a statewide public television partnership offering instructional content to support the education of students and to provide resources to families and teachers. The instructional content is aligned with the Michigan educational standards, and it follows widely accepted sequences for mastering skills throughout the school year. So that pretty much means that what we offer is definitely related to the standards that your teachers are teaching, and it's relevant, and it's also important, and it also is a bridge to what they're learning in school and also at home. So these actually can be measured on exams and also just basic life skills for your students. The Michigan Learning Channel also provides free access, free 99, as a lot of people like to say, to every Michigander in every corner of the state, since it is 24/7 over-the-air broadcast channel. It's also available through your local PBS station throughout Michigan. And again, a lot of people may recognize Detroit Public Television. So we're just one of those channels connected to Detroit Public Television. Now, introducing Read, Write, Roar. I was a part of this series as a first grade teacher. I've taught kindergarten through third grade, and I also served as a literacy coach. So this was a really interesting and important colleague of mine had shared information about how to be a part of this. So not only am I representing the Michigan Learning Channel, but I actually was able to teach some of the lessons. So you will see through this programming that you'll have modeled literacy essentials. Again, those are best practices. They're taught by Michigan teachers. It's also developed with a statewide literacy coach network. So again, the information that you're going to be seeing, the programming, even though it's fun and exciting, and there's a lot that's offered, it is very relevant, and it will definitely encourage your child to succeed. As it relates to our programming, we want you to know that it fits into your regular routines, like dinner time, family time, game nights, car rides, doing chores. And also these programs can be as short as 2 minutes and as long as 28 minutes. In addition to our broadcasts, there are many other ways to access the Michigan Learning content, especially as it relates to the Read, Write, Roar episodes. Many of the Learning Channel programs are available on pbs.org, also through your smartphone, your TV apps, including Roku and Apple TV. So I'm the type of person who likes to hear things, but I mostly like to explore. So you can tell me some things, but I need to show you some things. I need to be shown some things. So we're going to dive into the website just for a little bit and explore. And then on your own time, you'll be able to go into those different shows and just take a preview of all of the things that are offered. So I'm going to share my screen. Thank you, Ashlyn, for your assistance here.
You're welcome.
I'm going to, in this window, share screen. Okay, so this is the Michigan Learning Channel site. And please give me a thumbs up, someone, if you see our screen and it says Michigan.
And Shanita, I see your screen, but we don't see the website. We see the PowerPoint.
Okay, let me stop and reshare. I should know how to do this because I taught and had to do this virtually. So give me just a second. I like to say sometimes when we're learning and we make mistakes, our students are actually excited because a teacher made a mistake. What? Yes, it's all about learning. So please give me a thumbs up now if you see it.
Thumbs
Yay!
up. Yay.
Excellent. Okay, so this is our Michigan Learning Channel platform and website. And as you can see, there are different buttons up here. Find the lesson, subjects, grades, shows, schedule, and we also have a specific designation for teachers. So let's just go down here and look at the programming. So here, again, I said that you can have on-demand lessons and also watch live TV. I am still one who watches children's programming and a lot of things that are on Detroit Public Television that are educational and also interesting. We also have the schedule, so you can try to see, okay, when I'm home at 5 o'clock, what's actually on. But again, because it's on demand, you can also look at shows based on your availability and when you would like your child to have some interaction with you. So let's go up to the top, and most parents would look for shows. We just want to see what shows are available. We have Extra Credit, which is a really good program, exploring animals, engineering, sports, all types of things. And the rapid pace of the different information that's presented captures everyone's attention. Here, we see that it's categorized by grade level. So if you have a child in your family who is pre-K, here are several shows that they can watch. Also elementary through kindergarten through 3rd grade. There, oops. Got too excited. There are different programmings here, Mathmites, and also my sister, she does sign language. She does sign language and she signs for students. And I actually watched this show and it was very interesting and I was able to learn a couple of words. So again, there's so much to see here, upper elementary, 4th and 5th grade. If you have someone in your family, whether it's a nephew, niece, cousin, daughter, grandchild, who is not quite interested in writing stories, I would suggest that you have them watch Story Pirates. It helps you to get more involved in the whole writing process, but you see the possibilities of being a writer and what writing can look like. So I'll just play just a little part of this clip, just so that you can see some of the excitement.
And just Shanita, will you share the sound as well?
Can I get that hug now?
Mhm.
Yeah, they can see it.
Okay, so I think you said you weren't able to hear.
No.
No? Okay, I apologize for that. But you can hear me. Let's see, I'm not sure. I can move these over. Okay, so this is what we're going to do with that because I don't see the volume button for you being able to hear it. Okay, so we'll just say we used our imagination. What do you think they were saying? That's a good question. Okay, so I just, again, wanted to show you some of the exciting things. When it comes to learning, it doesn't have to be paper, pencil. I hope we all know that learning comes in all different forms. And so through the Michigan Learning Channel, you not only have content that is based on what students are learning in school, but you also have subjects and also interesting shows that are even created with children who are the stars of the show. So again, if you're looking for math, here's a lot of things that you can do with math. Again, all types of grade levels. You can browse the show. Cyber Chase is really interesting too. It's again, a curious kid summoned into outer space to outwit and outsmart a villain. And this person is a hacker, right? So it's really good to see all of these shows. But one of the things that we want to make sure that when you explore the Michigan Learning Channel is that you don't get overwhelmed. There's a lot of content. It's almost like having an educational Netflix. So when you have these buttons up here, I want you to make sure that you first just see what's out there, because even as an adult, you might find something for teens very relevant so that you can help teens in your life. And then you can also have your students or your children explore subjects or what's found in their grade level. So don't limit it to only a grade level of your child or people that you know. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to home, and we're going to be talking about a little later, well, maybe I'll just share this with you now, the Let's Read Challenge. It's a very excellent way for you to, it's an excellent way for you to be able to enjoy reading with your student or with your child. All the way to the bottom, there was something that I saw there that I didn't mention. So you can always contact us if you have any questions, if you have any suggestions, even on content. Our information is here. So again, explore the site. You will find some amazing things that we have to offer. So let me just do this. The Let's Read Challenge is something that's very exciting. You'll be able to join as a family or even as a school. It's a statewide campaign. We had some winners last year, but we're looking for some new winners this year to win some special prizes just as it relates to reading. Now, sometimes we think of reading as sitting down, reading a book. But that's not just reading. Reading comes in all forms and fashions. It could even be a trip to the grocery store, reading the aisles, reading the packaging, going on a field trip to the zoo, or even to your video store or to the movies, just asking your child or children to find print, and they can go on a discovery or a hunt. And guess what? Those things count as it relates to the reading challenge. A lot of children have apps that they're on and they're building things and they're playing games. And there's also a literacy component, so that can count. So I really would love for you to go ahead and take a look at this site and definitely register for the reading challenge. So I'm going to stop sharing because I can go on and on. I'm already off script, everybody. I'm just so excited about learning and being able to grow with you. So back to our final slide. The Michigan Learning Channel Let's Read Challenge. I'm not quite sure if you can see the QR code yet. Yes. So if you have your phone, go ahead and scan the QR code and you'll be able to go right to the website, or you can just remember that it's michiganlearning.org. And join us on this Let's Read Together challenge. Even if as a parent, as a grandparent, as a cousin, auntie, uncle, nephew, just go ahead and enjoy the process and figure out how many minutes are you really reading. It's probably more than you think. Here are the ways that you can keep in touch with us. On my final slide, I would like to just thank you for your time and attention. Enjoying my quirks and my mess ups and my challenges, and also learning and growing with me. Remember that the targeted episodes can help struggling readers or challenge those who may have some higher level instruction and they want that level of instruction. So again, thank you for allowing me to speak with you today. Feel free to reach out so we can enjoy learning together, and a happy, wonderful rest of the school year to you.
Thank you, Shanita Rogers. And Shanita Rogers is our engagement and coordinator. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to her. We're so appreciative that she was able to join us. So many things I saw, but I was not aware about the hero stories. I will definitely check that one out. As you're on the call, what we want to do is I want everyone to make sure that you sign up for the Let's Read Challenge. We want Pontiac to be on the map and have some winners. And if you were at the Healthy Halloween event, I gave out reading logs so you can color in how many minutes you read. And we can go ahead and use that as your target to register for those minutes. Our final speaker for the evening is Stephen Sneed. So we talked about, what are the things we talked about today? We talked about coherence breathing, heart coherence, and she connected it to the Wizard of Oz, that you have the power within you. Our next speaker was Shanita, and she talked with us about how to make our brain smart. And now Stephen Sneed is going to be with us to talk about testing. Stephen Sneed, you're on deck. Thank you for being with us.
Hey, I am glad to be here, and good evening, everyone. I am gonna go ahead and grab the screen sharing because I got a couple of animation things in the slide that I will show you. So this is my favorite part of the show. We get to talk about testing, my favorite thing. Woo! Who's excited? Is everybody, are more people than Ashlyn excited to talk about testing? That's what I want. Like, no, yes, kind of, sort of so. All right, we want to get started here with this very first question that I want to ask you. And if you're able to put in the chat, write it in the chat, or if you're not able to put in the chat, go ahead and unmute and just tell us what's on your mind relative to this question. So I'm asking, we're going to try for some little interactivity tonight. I want to ask you, just knowing what you know, or maybe know what you think you know, or what you believe, why do schools test students? Why do schools test students? So I'm going to give us about a good solid minute or so. Put that in the chat. Why do schools test students? Why do you think they test students? And if you can't get to the chat, feel free to unmute and share with everybody. Why do schools test students? So I'll give us a solid minute or wait time. Okay, I'm looking at the chat. Someone said assessment of knowledge. Cool. So another person said to design intervention actions that could help a student. All right. You all know a couple things or two. Do we have a couple more friends that can share? Why do schools test students? Why do schools test students? Why? Good answer so far. Ooh, okay. Measurables and deliverables. Like it. To see if they're learning material, to monitor their progress. Awesome. Great answers all. If we continue on and you're inspired to give another answer, feel free to drop that in the chat. Another person said to measure instruction. Great. I love them all. So I want to ask you to think about an analogy. We're going to compare testing in schools to the experience that you might have with your child at the doctor's office. So as a parent, presumably you're here because you're a parent and you care about students in Pontiac. I am a parent. I care about all children, particularly my own. When we go into the doctor's office, we generally want to know, is my child healthy? Is okay? Is everything going the way it's supposed to be going? Are there things wrong? Are there things we need to look out after for? And so when you go into the doctor's office, that doctor is actually going to not just give you one test and give you one answer like, yes, your child is healthy. No, they're going to give you and your child a number of different types of assessments. They're going to take their weight. They're going to take their height. They're going to check their temperature. They're going to check their blood pressure, blood glucose test, a hearing test. We do a lot of hearing screenings when kids are very, very young, like even babies. We do eye tests to make sure that they can read so they can see things in the classroom. And even just a good old-fashioned exam. The exam is what the doctor does when they're just talking to you and they're asking you questions about how you feel, how your movement, how are things going in school. I love the first speaker in reminding us about well-being. You know, the body and the mind are interconnected. So we just can't do all of these medical tests without asking, you know, how are you feeling? How is your mind? How are you interacting with some concerns with that? So even in a very short time span that you're in the doctor's office, even when things are going well, you're going to take a number of different tests for different reasons. And that's something I want to really drive home tonight, is that we take different tests for different reasons so that they give us different pieces of information in order to help our children grow. So if you take a look here at your screen as examples, if our children are having difficulty reading, we might order them some glasses, and not just any old glasses, but glasses that are specific to their visual needs. If they're having difficulty hearing, they might get a hearing aid. If they're having other struggles, they might be encouraged to lead a more active lifestyle, like get active in sports, or you might have a conversation about diet. A lot of our health, both mental and physical, is highly influenced by our diet. So how can we incorporate fun fruits and vegetables, things that kids like to eat? So when we ask the question, is my child healthy? Your doctor gives all of these different types of assessments over time in order to inform, here's the right type of support that your child needs to be healthy. So that's the same thing in schools. That's the same thing with tests in schools. Schools test students for different purposes. And I love the answers that you put in the chat. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing those. You are all geniuses in my book. A lot of you mentioned things I'm already mentioning here. Here's just a couple of reasons. This is not an exhaustive list, but just some of the more popular reasons. One, we just want to measure achievement or growth. We just want to know where are they and how much do they know? Very important for schools, and I see a couple of school friends here on the Zoom. We as school leaders, we want to allocate financial resources to help your child improve. So maybe if our reading scores indicate that students need some support reading, maybe we want to hire a reading coach, or maybe we want to invest more dollars into reading programs that help really excite the passion for reading. So as district leaders and school leaders, we might need to use those tests in order to determine where do we allocate our money, where do we allocate our budget. We also use assessments to determine effective programs. So if a kid is in a program, a summer program, an after-school program, or maybe an in-school program, is it working? How do we know that it's working? How do we know that it's delivering results? Well, the assessment can tell us if students are in this program, hopefully it's effective. Sometimes we use assessments to place students in programs. Like, hey, we really think your child might benefit if they went to the Reading Rockstars program based upon their reading scores. Now, I know a lot of people get a lot of anxiety, and there's a lot of talk in the media about like accountability. Accountability is not a bad thing, but it's not the only thing. So of course, yes, we use assessments. We got to use the right assessments, but we use assessments to hold schools and staff accountable for performance. We want to make sure that we're doing right by your babies. But my favorite reason for testing, though, the one I would invite you to latch on to, encourage you to talk with your child's teachers, school principals, curriculum directors, board meetings. We want to use assessments to learn what students need to grow. That's probably the most important reason for why we test students, is so that we can learn. And I think a couple people mentioned that in the chat. Thank you, my resident geniuses. We want to use these assessments to learn what needs to come next for our child. So tests help staff learn what help your child needs to grow. We need to know specifically what should we be targeting. A lot of our kids come into school with so much knowledge already. The tests can help us figure out, where should I spend my time and my energy? So does your child need help with fractions, whole digits, multiplication? Is it something else? Is it they think that math is boring, and we need to actually help them realize that math is really exciting and that math is all around us? Well, assessments help us figure those things out so we can pinpoint the right type of support to your child. Now, of course, yes, I love testing, and tests help us identify areas of strength and growth for kids, but we need to realize that no single test can define your child. A lot of times we're a little anxious about test scores, about the judgment or the labels that they put on kids. Cut it out. You encounter somebody that is doing that stuff, you tell them Stephen from Oakland and the Michigan Assessment Consortium said, cut it out. No, that is categorically false. No single test can define your child. Your child is a whole human being. They have hopes, wishes, fears, dreams, aspirations, worries, struggles, successes. We're all very complex human beings. No test can define your child. No single test can define your child. So while They might give us helpful information in the moment. That doesn't mean that one test defines everything there is to know about your child in that moment. This is an analogy I like to remind people of. During the pandemic, we heard that, of course, as a parent, you love your child. You want to help your child do well on the test. And sometimes we think of the test as like the scoreboard, right? We want them to win. We want them to get all of the points. We want them to get the good grade because we care about them. We love them. Makes total sense. But what I'm going to invite you to shift some of your belief and understanding is that we need to stop treating tests like a scoreboard, trying to win something. Although sometimes, what are we winning with these tests? But really look at a test as giving us information. So if you think about your dashboard, you want your dashboard to work for you. Your dashboard on your car is giving you all sorts of information in real time. So, I know everybody's taking a look at these gas prices. These gas prices are, although they start to come down a little bit. I definitely appreciate that. But if you look at your car's gas tank meter, you want that to be accurate. You want to know how much gas do I have. You don't want your car to lie to you or cheat and say, well, you have a full tank of gas. In reality, you have empty. Because you're going to be stuck on the side of the road somewhere. So you want that test of how much gas do you have to give you accurate information so that you can determine, do I need to go to the gas station? Can I make my trip to grandma's house? Can I make it to work? So all of those pieces of it, and notice your dashboard gives you a lot of information, but different kinds of information that you need to know as a driver. My check engine light came on a couple of weeks ago and I'm sweating because these car prices also are nothing nice. I'm going to try to get my car fixed. It's giving me data that I need in order to make decisions. That's what we want to do with tests in schools. So I'm going to go over really, really quickly some different types of assessments that your child is likely to encounter in school. And I'm going to talk about some ways in which, very simple ways in which you can help your child and help the school do the very, very best for all of your students. So in terms of the different types of assessments that you'll encounter, we've got screening assessments, diagnostic assessments, interim benchmark assessments, state assessments, college readiness. I know it looks like a lot. I know. But remember, when you went to the doctor's office, you weren't saying like, oh, don't measure my weight, don't measure my height, don't measure my blood pressure, you didn't do that. You let the doctor run the types of assessments that were necessary in order to inform the next steps for your health. Treat the assessments in school the very same way. So let's talk about a couple of these. So let's talk about screening assessment and interim benchmark assessment. I want to talk about both of these at the same time. So screening assessments are assessments that are given typically to all students. So every student, your child, every student in that grade level, in that building, is typically going to take a screening assessment, usually in reading and math, right around the beginning of the year. Typically, it might be within the first 30 days of the year, but it might be immediately upon enrollment. It just depends upon how your school works. The purpose of that screening assessment is to identify who might need additional support to meet end of year targets. So we want to know right away, hey, who's a baby that we need to really look at after, because we want to make sure that they're on target. Now, dovetailed with that are interim benchmark assessments. So again, these are also given to all students and usually in reading and math 3 times a year. Actually, Michigan law requires schools to administer benchmark assessments to students in grades K through 8 in reading and math. They have to do that by law. That was passed during the pandemic. What the interim benchmark assessment do, it's going to measure achievement and growth over time. So we want to take a look at how did you do from fall to winter, or fall to spring, or fall from this school year, from fall from the previous school year. So we want to measure growth over time. And that's going to measure student progress against national targets. So you're going to get compared against, here's how your child ranks nationally, on this assessment. So a lot of times we don't want to over assess kids. So many schools opt to do a screening and interim benchmark assessment, use one tool to give them those type of purposes. So a very popular tool that's used across Oakland County is the NWEA. You might have heard of that assessment. Your child might take that assessment. So the NWEA kind of functions like a screening assessment, and it is officially an interim benchmark assessment. Students are going to take that 3 times a year, typically in reading and math. It's done on the computer, and you're going to get a report that might give you some type of information that looks kind of like this. So hopefully you can see that on your screen. I apologize if it's small for those of you who are on your phone. So NWEA produces a score for a child called a RIT score. Don't even worry about what the RIT stands for. Just know that it's going to give your child a score, and that score is going to give your child a percentile rank on achievement, and then achievement just measuring how much do they know, like where are they on. We think kids should know this much on this test, so this is where they are in their learning. A note about 60th percentile or percentiles. Percentiles are simply your child's standing in line, right? So if you're in the 60th percentile, you got 59 people behind you, and you got 40 people or 39 people above you in line. So the higher the percentile, the higher achievement your child is. So typically, you want to be north of the 50th percentile. 50th percentile means, hey, you're just about average. You're doing just about as well as any other student. So you want to be around that 50 or higher. That's what you want to aim for in terms of the performance. Growth is different. Growth is over time, how much are you growing compared to other kids? So you got to take this assessment at least twice. If you stay in the same school system, it's likely that you've taken the NWA multiple years and multiple points in the year. So that growth, this assessment is going to measure change over time. So although your achievement might not be high, maybe your growth is really, really high. You're doing something really great in the classroom. So again, assessments like NWA are going to tell you, achievement and growth, and remember those percentiles. So it's percentiles aren't percent. Like, so if you know a typical grading scale, maybe you're familiar with the typical grading scale of 90% as an A, 70% as a C, 80% as a B. This is not that. This is not that. The percentile is your rank in line. You want to be at the 50th percentile or higher. That just simply means that your child is performing just like other children across the country. Another popular assessment is iReady. So the iReady is similar in its construct, but it's going to give you a little bit of a different type of data. So iReady is going to just straight up name you are performing at this particular grade level in reading and or math. So you can see over there on the right, this fictitious fifth grader is performing in reading at a fourth grade level. There's a scale score over there. I apologize, it's a little blurry. They're at a 560. So this gives you and the teacher information that they're one grade level below where the assessment says they should be. In this particular assessment, it's going to break down different domains of reading, and it's going to tell them where they place in terms of, are they on grade level? Are they above grade level in that area, or are they below? And then it's also going to give you some growth data. So it's going to tell you, hey, you can typically expect to get here over the course of the year. If they're doing really well and they're really, really putting in that effort, and teacher and you are working together really great, then you'll have like a stretch goal. And that is a stretch to say, if you can really accelerate their learning, they can get to that point. So iReady and NWA are two very comparable assessments. Note that, for example, I don't call these high stakes assessments. So employers aren't going to look for these assessment scores. These assessment scores aren't going to be forwarded to colleges. It's not going to be on a transcript. So it's information for you in the school in order to inform, hey, what should come next in my child's learning. Now, assessments like these don't tell you everything. They just give you one little slice of the pie. Sometimes you've got to go deeper. And so that means you need to take a diagnostic assessment. So remember our car analogy, that when an indicator light goes on, that means something's going on. So like if my check engine light goes off again, well, that check engine light doesn't tell me exactly what's going on. I've got to take it to a mechanic to give it a diagnosis so they can specifically identify, here's what my car needs. Well, diagnostic assessments are kind of like that. They help teachers and schools really pinpoint what is it exactly that my child needs. So the big assessments, the multiple choice on the computers, might tell us, okay, there's a concern with reading, or there's a concern with math, but the diagnostic assessment is going to specifically drill in and give us information that we can use to help your child. but it won't cover all areas or aspects of the school. Now, when your child gets older, if you have middle schoolers and high schoolers, they're going to begin to take college readiness assessments. The college readiness assessment in the state of Michigan is SAT. There are others, but Michigan gives the SAT. It's made by College Board. Kids in grades 8, 9, 10, and 11 are going to take a version of the PSAT or the SAT. That's going to determine if students are on track to be ready for college level ELA and math. Now, this is a high stakes test. So this is different for the other tests. If these are giving information to the schools, this is still giving information to the schools, yes, but once your child really gets in like 10th and 11th grade, that PSAT and MSQT data can make them eligible for scholarships, and colleges will begin to recruit your child based upon that test score data. So this is like to say, this is the one where you want them to do really well, because a lot of important decisions are going to be based on this assessment. The PSAT and SAT are essentially the combination of two tests. There's an evidence-based reading and writing test, and then a math test. And on both tests, there's essentially a passing score. So you see on your screen here, the evidence-based reading and writing score for SAT, they want you to get a 480 or above. That's just simply a made-up number in terms of how that test is constructed, but that's the goal. When you take that test, you want to get a 480 or above in the EBRW. And on the math, you want to get a 530 or higher. So some students really, quote unquote, pass the math test, but maybe don't pass the EBRW test. Well, that might mean that when they get in college, they'll need extra courses in order to ensure that they can be ready for college level rigor. But again, the college readiness is a little different because it is high stakes. And then you've got MSTEP. Now, I like to say MSTEP is not really high stakes for you, the parent and the student. They're high stakes for us, the people in schools, but for you, it's still just giving you information. But the state assessment is a little different. So state assessment is state and federally required by law. We have to administer those tests to your students in grades 3 through 8 and 11 in ELA, math, science, and social studies, although the kids don't take the science and social studies assessment every single year. So the state assessment is going to determine if students have met state academic standards. So remember I said earlier that your NWAs and your I-Readies, they're going to compare students against national, so if you take that NWA or I-Ready, for example, at the 4th grade level, your child's performance is being compared to all 4th graders in the country who've taken that test. State assessment, MSTEP, does not work like that. It's not comparing your child to all children in the country. It's comparing them to all children in the state of Michigan, and it's helping to determine, did they meet state academic standards or not? So it's just about what's going on in Michigan. So on the state assessment, what we really care about, yes, there's a scale score there, but we really care about, are they proficient or higher? Because that proficient label is going to tell us that whatever the state of Michigan expects students at that grade level to know, they know it. They know it. So they've, quote unquote, passed that test. If they're partially proficient or not proficient, again, it's pretty low stakes for you, the parent and student. Nothing is going to happen to you directly. The school is going to use that information to perhaps reach out to you for participation, perhaps in special programs, or the teachers can use that data to modify and differentiate some of their lessons so that they can make sure that students grow appropriately. So again, coming back to our medical analogy, is my child healthy? But now with our test score data, is my child healthy academically? So just like we went to the doctor's office and we had to take multiple different types of tests to ensure that our whole bodies and mind were in healthy alignment, same thing in schools: screening, diagnostics, interim benchmark, progress monitoring, formative assessment, state assessment, college readiness. All of these are like a photo album, right? There's a photo album that's giving us information about how your child is doing, what they need, what they're really great at, and what can they get better at, or what are some things that they're really struggling on, and how can we help them, support them along the way. Because I know, again, a lot of folks get nervous about testing. We don't want to test, or we don't want any labels on your child. I don't want any labels on your child either. So again, keep in your back pocket. No one test at any single time can tell us everything about your child. This is why we need to take multiple assessments so that we can know how your child needs to grow. So a couple of questions that I encourage you to ask your teachers, your school principals, if you are connected to your district leaders, ask them, and even, hey, ask your kids, particularly as they're older, we want them to be in charge of their own learning. So one question to ask, sometimes we look at tests to tell us what everything's wrong. No, hold up. Tests got to tell us what's right, what's going well, right? What are my child's strengths? What do they love to do? Are they a budding scientist? Are they a budding entrepreneur? I had a kid, one of my favorite kids when I was in high school, started a t-shirt business, right? Are there assessments out there that help us uplift what our kids really, really great at? Now that's dovetailed with what are specific areas my child should focus on. So they're great on these things. We want to continue to nurture their growth. We want to nurture their interests. We want to make sure that school is fun and engaging and challenging. So what are some other areas, very specific? So we just can't say, well, they need to work on reading. Well, what about reading do they need to work on? Do they need to work on vocabulary? Do they need to work on grade level text? Do they need to work on phonemic awareness and sounding out letters and syllables and sounds? Let's get really nitty gritty in terms of what they should be focusing on. And that should be something that you as a parent can work with your child's teachers and schools to help identify, and assessments help us do that. And then these last two things, how can I help my child grow in these areas? You saw some really great content from the Michigan Public Learning Network television. Woo, I like that library. I'd want to dig into that. And even beyond academically, how are they feeling as a whole well person? Is your child breathing appropriately? Sometimes they get so nervous. We just need to help them breathe and be in the moment. I really love that video about the heart and the brain connection. These are things that you can use assessment to help identify what are areas that you can help your child grow. And then your challenge back to the school is like, hey, school, you got my baby from 8 to 3. How are you helping my child grow in these areas so that you can hold your schools accountable and also support them in love and doing the very best things for your child. So that is my time tonight. I would say ask me any questions, but I'm going to say if you have questions about assessment and how your child is doing, the best people to ask are people in your school. So definitely if you have questions about assessment, you have questions about your child's strengths and growth areas, ask your school. You can ask me anytime, Stephen Sneed, I'm at Oakland Schools. But the best people to ask are the professionals that love and care for your child every day. And on behalf of that, on behalf of Oakland Schools and Dr. Curry, thank you for inviting me. I'm going to stop screen sharing here.
And thank you, Stephen.
There it is. You're
I
welcome.
appreciate you. Can we give Stephen a round of applause? That was such a dynamic presentation, and I feel so much smarter just listening to those different types of assessments and how your analogies of the car and at the medical doctor. And the most important point is that one test cannot measure your kids, and just asking the question to the teacher, like, what's my kid's strength? And if they can't answer the question.
Can I say one more thing? I'm preaching because this is my favorite thing. I'm sorry, y'all. So we need to deliver hope and optimism to our babies because the world is tough. And sometimes what they're listening to on TikTok, on Facebook, on Instagram, sometimes or what they see on TV, everybody wants to brag on social media. I got this, I got that. And sometimes they'll look at a test score that maybe isn't a score that they like, and they own a sense of defeatism. We got to say, no, baby, we're going to help you. This is giving us information to help nurture the beautiful star that you are. So, but we got to really love on our kids when they get these test scores back to ensure that they don't take on the self-label of defeat. We got to pour them with love and with energy and really just sort of chill. Remember that scoreboard, like, this is not the scoreboard. We're not trying to, I know a lot of parents like to post their child's report cards, online. I don't do that because I'm not trying to, cause comparison or performance anxiety. I want us to use that information to help these children grow. And if we do that, then our children will have a sense of hope and optimism, and we can help them reach to the future.
Thank you, Stephen, so much. So much appreciation what you shared with us today and how you empowered our parents to ask the questions when they look forward to those parent and teacher conferences. As we get ready to wrap up our evening, thank you for being with us today. I'm just going to share a couple of initiatives and events that's been happening. Now, we're part of the Pontiac United Education Coalition, and under the umbrella of the Pontiac United Education Coalition is that we have Pontiac Reads. So we have all of these things that you see, like our town hall meetings. Just last month, we had our kindergarten connections. We're doing all kind of things to make sure that we support you in helping your kids have the best educational outcomes in our city of Pontiac. This is a wonderful event that's going to be for our babies in Pontiac. Now, Stephen talked about aspiration. Like if your child is interested in being a doctor, then there is a program called Reach Out to Youth Program, and it's a passport to medicine. And then we're not waiting to high school to do this. We're targeting those students from grade 2nd through 5th grade. If you're interested in this program, Rosanna is going to put the link in the chat. This is up and coming. If you don't have a child in that age group, I'm certainly sure that you know someone. Please share this information, because when they bring these programs to us for our students, we want to make sure that we're taking advantage of these resources. Another event is also on November the 12th. So if your child's not in that 2nd or 5th grade range, and you don't have the whole day to devote, then come over to the Pontiac Public Library on November the 12th from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. We are going to be providing lunch for the babies during this time. But I had a chance to look at this mural. Have any of you drove down Woodward Street and saw this amazing mural? Yeah, I see Alexandra shaking her. It's so breathtaking. And I was so intrigued by this person. And I'm like, I don't know who this is. I went to the Oakland History Center, read about her as the first Black woman to own land in Oakland County. And I began reading this book, and it said the true story, but she didn't write the story. Somebody else wrote the story. Her employers wrote a story about her. It said it was a true story. But no one can tell your story like you can tell your story. So our kids are going to learn this message on Your Story Represented. So join us at the Pontiac Library. We have local Native author Tara Michener is going to be sharing and signing her book. And kids are going to get her book as well as receive a sketchbook by the illustrator. He's going to show kids how he illustrates stories. Share this wonderful program with our students in Pontiac. Go ahead and mark your calendar. February the 16th is an African American read-in. We have an award winner author that's going to be with us on the evening. It's going to be virtual, but last year we were at a local church and we watched it together. We ate meals together and we read together. It was such a beautiful event. So go ahead and mark it on your calendar, February the 16th. But keep you posted on that. And if you want to hear about our upcoming events or what's happening with parents, you want to connect with families, you got questions, join our parent group, where you can have partnerships, you can have community, we have fun. You saw all of the events that we've been doing. And most of the time, I want to say 99.9%, our programs, or really 100%, our programs are free. They're free. So join us. We thank you for attending with us tonight. It is 6:46. We said that we're going to be giving out a $100 gift card. Rosanna has a link in the chat.
Yes,
And
Ashlyn, there was a question in the chat
okay.
from Carlton. So I want to make sure that we get that addressed. And if anybody else has any questions, they can put it in the chat or, raise their hand. But Carlton said, assessment is very important and good information. My question is, how can we make sure proper assistance is being done beyond what parents can do. And then he had a kudos, great presentation, all three, good job. So. Stephen, I don't know if you can respond to that or.
Yeah, a couple of things. So part of the good news is there's some things that are codified into state and federal law that give you a leg up. So one, if you have a student in grades K through 3, there is a law called by grade 3. Now I'm not in love. This is just me talking. I'm not speaking on behalf of Oakland schools. I'm not in love with the retention part of that law. That's not my favorite thing. But one of the things that I do like is that it requires schools to create an individualized reading improvement plan. So the thinking is they use the assessment to pinpoint what are the reading needs, and then they have to create a plan for each student to remedy those needs. And you, as a parent by law, have a right to receive that document in writing. So that's in students engaged K through 3. You have a right to receive that IREP, and you have a right to, help communicate and work with the school to articulate, what your child needs in order to help them read. If your child has a specific learning need and they're receiving specialized services from your school, then there's lots of federal support to document the services, modifications, or accommodations that your child has a right to receive by law in order to help them improve. But I would just simply continue to encourage a positive, healthy relationship with your child's teachers. Start with those simple questions. Ask your child's teachers, give them more stuff that they're bad at, but flip that. Like, what do the assessments say that my child loves, that they're really good at, and how do we help nurture that along the way? I am all of 5'5" in height. I was shorter in school, so you can imagine I was not the star on the basketball team, although I was on the basketball team at one point. But I grew to not love basketball. So I wasn't going to basketball camp. That wasn't your boy back in the day, but I did do lots of writing. I loved to write. So assessments had to help my teachers figure out, well, Stephen really loves to write. Let's give him more of those experiences. So as a parent, you can advocate for your child. What is the school doing to ignite the hopes and wishes and dreams of your child?
Thank you, Stephen.
Excellent feedback. I appreciate that, Stephen.
And
Just
I'm
to,
gonna-
I mentioned in the chat, but, the questions that Stephen mentioned, the parent-teacher conferences are really great times to ask those questions, right? And so sometimes you then allow yourself and the teacher to focus on the child and not necessarily, the grades and stuff, but just asking those and being engaged. Parent-teacher conference, if you find that what opportunity do you have to talk to the teacher? Those are great opportunities to do so as a beginning conversation.
And thank you all for being here. Before you leave, if you could give us some feedback, like how did you hear about this event? And was it useful, not useful, very useful? Tell us, what was the most important thing you learned today? How could we improve our PUEC town hall meetings? Tell us what you're interested in learning more about. And if you're interested in being a parent leader, so you can help get to spread the word, actually lead a session with some other parents. What we want to do is tap in to not only all our resources. We know that you have knowledge that you can share with our community. So we don't have all the answers. We're coming together in a partnership and coordinating this work together. And then Dominique had, Our Lady, did you have anything that you'd like to share before we close out?
Yeah, we'd like to share the winner for the raffle.
Dun, 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 dun. Sorry, I didn't have any raffle music here.
All right, so we put in all of the names of everyone we thought was a parent, so here we go.
Woo-hoo! Ramona Grinley.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
And we appreciate you. So when you get your gift card, get your money, give us a shout out on PUEC Facebook page, on the Pontiac Reads page, and let them know that when we come together, we celebrate and we're giving out money too.
I sure will. I most definitely will. Thank you so much. And this has been very helpful for me. So when I go to parent conference, I know what to ask the teachers and what support do I need for my boys, because I have 2 twin boys. So, and they're special needs. So this has helped me out so much.
Good.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, we're gonna close out tonight. Thank you for spending the evening with us. Go ahead and remember to do some of that heart coherence breathing. I'm very grateful for our speakers, Judith, Shanita, and Stephen. We're going to make this a great year. It's the best year ever. So have a great night. We look forward to seeing you out in our community. And I forgot to share with you, I'm a Pontiac resident as well. Thank you all. Have a beautiful evening. Thank you.